Anime figures are priceless. Hello, it's Nobeloth here. Welcome back to another video. I just wanted to talk about this certain subject that just came into thought lately. And for some reason, I've been doing a lot of unboxings and stuff. There's this old quote from a very famous person. When you ask a dumb question, you get a smart answer. This is the premise of the video of why I'm making it, is the fact that anime figures are priceless. I myself have been a connoisseur of figures. I mean, my first ever figure was a low budget Kaori figure from Your Line April. Yes, even her violin was just so downgrade and it's just so plastic. And at the end of the day, all these figures are plastic. And I understand that there are some figures that have more painting to them than other figures. And there's no fault to that, because these figures are art, and to downgrade them as priceless is kind of offensive, obviously, to the actual artists who manufactured them, who created them, who painted them. When you get a low budget anime figure, you kind of don't have any idea whether it's like on a supermarket sort of thing, like on eBay, whether it's like a $15 to $30 figure that is just, painted. But when you try to find the artist's name, it's not there. So where do you find it? Well, you can't find it. So, you just bought it just for the admiration of you looking at a figure. And the idea of just looking at a figure is another topic that I will discuss further in depth later on in this video. Going further into the artist who painted the figure, you really don't see that in low budget figures. However, I will say that with high-end figures, you do get to see the artist who created, who manufactured, who painted the illustration, and also the figure itself. The painting of the figure, it has to have an illustration prior to its release. Especially with more higher end figures, you'll start to notice that there are a lot more illustrations for these figures rather than them just being painted and that's just it. You have a lot of illustrations. So fun fact, by the time you guys see this video, it will be after I show off that little Torador section of my figures. Well, that Taiga figure that is a wedding figure, in fact, has an illustration. And that illustration is actually really beautiful, and I would love to have it one day because it's an absolute masterpiece. Even with that illustration, I believe I got a little card, like a little, card like how I unboxed it in one of my past videos. I got a little card that had that illustration, and I gave that to the English VA as like a present and a gift. It was absolutely amazing. But besides that, there's always going to be an illustration for any high budget anime figure that you buy. It's just factual. It's always going to be a thing. That is a process when creating a high budget anime figure. But when you get low budget anime figures, when I mean low budget, I mean less than $100. That's what I'm talking about. Figures that you'll find in the supermarket that are just in box, in plastic, and that's it. You don't have any sort of fancy things, going on with the figure, like where the attachment parts are separated, like how I showed in past unboxing videos. But realistically, the reason why I'm saying these figures are priceless, not just because of the idea that one day you will die and this stuff is not going with you. That goes with everything. My phone, any figure, any possession that you have, we'll all have to leave that behind one day. Speaking like that, it's a dumb question to ask if figures are priceless, but obviously, the smart answer will always be the fact that they are priceless, mainly because of the fact you will die one day and you're not going to have that anymore. But there's also a little underlying purpose to why these figures are priceless. When you buy a figure, you buy it for its illustration, for its looks. When I mean illustration, I mean looks. But beyond that, what purpose does a figure hold above anything else? And this is something that I've always thought about as a kid growing up to recent years and even until now. What other reason is there to buy a figure? And before you guys say it, I've seen some weird shit on the internet at some point in time, and let me tell you, there was once this Reddit post that I saw that showed an anime figure deformated until its last very pinnacle of existence. I need no explanation in that because it was disgusting. Besides that, I don't understand why anyone would do that to their figure, first of all. But second of all, what other purpose does a figure hold? Another purpose that a figure holds is to take pictures. I mean, that's about it. But what other purpose does it serve? That's where you start to question yourself and you don't really find an answer to what other purpose a figure holds other than just for looks. And so when you have a figure, you are just holding on to it and that's it. There's no other purpose for it. And so now you have no other purpose for the figure other than to just look at it and that's it. What I have been thinking, and even the smallest thing gave it another purpose that I did eventually at some point in time, was I remember there was one time when I first met Christine Cabanos, which is the English dub voice actor for my favorite character Minori, and I met her for the first time and I gave her a couple of gifts, and I'm not going to go into too much of what those gifts were, mainly because of the fact that you might be able to find that video in like my actual channel. You know, the first video that pops up when you go to my channel, it's on when I met all three Toradora girls. It's on that video. But I gave her a whole bunch of gifts, and in one of those gifts was a little small Minori figure, and it was just like that. And I think anime figures have much more of a purpose other than just for looks. It's something that maybe someone will give you that serves a higher purpose. And even then, you know, when you look at the figures, like I'm looking right now at some of my figures, you think to yourself, man, it took a lot of work for someone to really create that sort of thing. When you think of that in mind, you think of what little strokes were put where at a meticulous point in time just so it can become a perfect looking figure that someone idealized through an illustration. And I just find that to be so beautiful when you think about it that way. A figure holds such higher purpose rather than just for looks. I mean, if you show a non-anime fan an anime figure, they're like, oh, that's cool. You know, I remember showing off my bunny suit figure of Minori, my biggest one, to my parents and to my other siblings. And my freaking initial reaction and I will only give my mom's reaction to this figure because it's kind of an embarrassing story and I kind of don't want to share it, but either way, I will. When I showed that bunny suit figure to my mom, I feel like she was kind of downplaying it rather than telling me, oh, that's kind of weird that you have that. Rather than saying that, she said, oh, she's very cute. And that literally broke me down to my core. And I can't say how embarrassed I am. Like, my face is probably fucking red right now, like Minori's hair, just from telling that story. I feel like figures hold purpose to create memories and also to, you know, remember all the things you did with that figure. And I'm trying to say that in the most non-dirty way as possible, but they create so many memories for us that you see that kind of figure, like the bunny suit Minori figure. That outfit did not ever exist in the anime. So seeing her in that figure, in that outfit, is kind of like mind-boggling. I'm like, ooh, I never saw her in a bunny suit before, other than I believe there was one cutscene where the guys were trying to come up with ideas for the festival in Toradora, and I think one of them was a bunny suit cafe. And oh lord, cafes are another topic to talk about. But going back to the figure segment, I would say that anime figures are priceless mainly because of the fact that, you know, when you buy them, you put them wherever you want them, and they sit to carry dust. And for myself, I take care of my anime figures. I know some people do as well, so I'm not discrediting anyone else that takes care of their anime figures. But realistically, those figures are going to sit there until, you know, whatever happens to them. And at that point, you don't really have any other purpose for those figures. So that's why I'm saying anime figures are priceless, mainly because of the fact that they won't serve any other purpose but to just sit there and have that same pose. With anime figures, I've collected so many, and so many at different prices. I know what a low budget anime figure looks like, and I know what a high budget anime figure looks like. How glossy their nails are. Yeah, high budget figures have glossy nails, and even the smallest detail in how their skin sort of curves at their exact pose, similar to actual human anatomy, which is freaking fascinating. And I can talk about it forever about how anime figures have developed over time. But realistically, they are priceless, mainly because of the fact they are an item and they will just sit there. I feel the same way about any signature you get from a person, and I know that's somewhat of a different topic, and I can get more into that, but it's all about the memory. And I think when you really see the memory in a figure, that's when it holds its value, and that's how it becomes not priceless but worth something. I love anime figures. I won't discredit them, mainly because someone worked really hard on that figure to have it painted in a meticulous and perfect way, and I give them all the praise for it because they are very talented, including the illustrators for these figures. Let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions on anime figures. Do you think they're priceless, or do you think they are worth a lot more than I care to say right now? I have been Noble Oath. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment down below your guys' thoughts and opinions. And with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care and peace.